Welcome to One More Thing, a podcast like no other. I'm Kyle Thompson, coach, speaker, and turnaround artist, driven by enthusiasm and fueled by passion in everything I do.
And I'm Tori Barker, creative engineer and marketing guru. You're about to experience a podcast that will challenge you to think, reflect, laugh, and grow.
Come along with us as we share stories that will inspire you to be the best version of you.
It's all about embracing change and the power of transformation.
Know we believe in you. We've got your back. You've got this.
All that we ask of you is to show up with an open mind and an enthusiastic heart.
So sit down, buckle up, and hold on.
Okay, we're here today recording episode number 3 of One More Thing. And today's topic, I'm really excited about this topic because I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people.
Amen.
So this topic for episode number 3 is living your dreams and pursuing your passion. And we'll kind of go into 4 different topics, and we'll give you some takeaways to implement and apply in your own life so that you can, live your passion or find a way to get to that.
Yeah. It's funny because I think a lot of times we abandon things over the course of our lives and we lose sight of who it is, who we are and where we're headed. And it might be as a result of some, roads that we've taken, and maybe we just feel like we can't get back on that path. So in our hope and desire for you and takeaway for you today is that you stop to think about where that was and how that was, and recognize everybody's got it. And if somebody tells you, oh no, I knew from the very get-go I was going to be some neuroscientist or save the world or blah, 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 they are lying through their teeth. Just don't want to share it. And the minute that you show that vulnerability or that sense that you too had that very thing happen to you, you will have people coming out in droves to help you because they recognize that path and they can mentor you or help you or support you in your dream.
Yes.
Big time.
See the honesty.
Amen. Yeah. Be honest, folks. Come on now.
Be authentic.
Amen. So I told Tori, I said, when we were talking about this, I said, I'm going to go to get the definition of passion. I hated the definition of passion, by the way. And it was intense, driving, or overmastering, or conviction. It sounded very dark. It sounded
I
like...
looked it up too, and I was like,
What?
scrolling, looking for a better definition.
What? That is just so bad. Because of that, I said, nix that, but I wanted to make sure that I gave that quote so that you would know what it was looking at. But more importantly, I had told Tori when we were talking about subjects that this came about as a result of an exercise that I did at a leadership conference entitled Maestro at leading real estate companies of the world in Chicago. And Mike Staver, God that he is, did a core values exercise that really changed me forever. And it was a series of adjectives that we had to identify who we were. So I just showed Tori before we came on. So basically, of that list, 10 you identified that most represented who you are, down to 5, down to 3, down to 1. And when I looked at the 3, from going from 5 to 3 simple, going from 3 to 1 a little tougher, but the one that I saw just jumped out at me. And mine was passion. And it was defined as intense enthusiasm. So I told Tori a story about when I was a child that my mom was sitting around the table, and if my mother's listening, my sainted mother's listening to this, she's going to go, not that story again. Kyle never has forgiven me. It's a matter of, she was spot on. Asked to give an adjective for each of us kids. Lance was sensitive. Tad, social. Kyle, intense. So I always used to introduce myself as the intense child. So intense enthusiasm really seemed to hit the mark. So Tori is going to do the exercise afterward, but in essence, that is the direction and one of the reasons, the contributing factors to why we decided to do this podcast as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through the exercise myself and identify what my core values are, and then I'll share with the group. And I'll also put a link for people to see and go through the exercise as well. So we'd love to find out what your core values are.
I told Tori when she's doing this, one of the things that Mike tasked us with, which made it much easier for me to identify what my main core value was, because it basically dictates everything that I do, which is in fact true, was a story. So Tori's going to, as she gets closer and in thinking about that, you actually have to talk about that story to the person that is closest to you, or the group. We had accountability partners, I think, at the time. And so we got a chance to tell the story, and everybody was in tears. I mean, so it really cut to the chase, and it was fabulous. So Mike Staver, thank you again. Totally life-changing, mind-blowing. It was awesome.
Awesome.
Okay?
All right, so let's dive in.
So we talked a little bit about, because we want you to have basically a foundation to start this, a passion principle. Because if you're going to do this exercise and you're going to do it truthfully and authentically and be very vulnerable about it, leave it all out there on the field, as my dad would say. Basically, we did the principle and the definition of a principle. So it's a fundamental truth or a proposition that serves as the foundation for a system, a belief, or a behavior, which is absolutely true.
Yeah.
So in applying your passion in terms of identifying what that is, think about, is it a belief, is it a behavior, or is it has to be that foundation or proposition, okay?
Yeah, and when I was kind of looking into this too, I came across a quote that really resonated with me, and it's, enthusiasm is infectious. If you are passionate about things, then others will be too. So, I really...
Preach,
amen.
sister. I've had people more than enough times in my life tell me you got to take it down a notch, and I always say you got to kick it up a notch, because this sister's not coming down. You're
You gotta
coming
meet
up.
me at my level.
Exactly. Thank you. But we are tasking you in terms of that principle and applying that principle and doing that exercise that we've just talked about to also do the following. What gives you unbridled enthusiasm and passion? And unfortunately, I think a lot of times, I think pretty much universally, people forget because life has happened, or they've allowed things to happen to them and they've gotten off track. So we kind of went, what if you don't know?
Yeah. How do you discover that? What do you do?
So I have no idea. I'm and I think sad, because probably all the more reason that things have been lobbed on top of you, and you're thinking, who was I?
Yeah.
And I don't remember who that was. So I said,
that happens a lot to mothers.
Amen.
I hear a lot of people talking about, I lost myself after I had children, because they lose sight of who they are. And then once the kids grow up and go to college, they're like, wait a second.
Aren't I supposed to go?
Yeah. Can I move into the dorms with you?
My daughter said that. Casey said that when she was little. She was going to go to Stanford originally when she was like 8 or 9. And she said, now, Mom, you're moving into the dorm with me. And I thought, sure.
When
It'll be a fun dorm.
When you're 18, you won't feel the same way.
Oh, too bad.
We're going to get this in writing. Casey.
I don't want my mom to be there. Are you kidding me? Anyway.
But no, it's so true. Parents, mothers, fathers too, even lose sight of themselves after having children. So really knowing your passion and embracing that throughout your life, regardless, I think is important.
You never lose that person that you had. So I told Tori when we were putting this together, I said, you have to go back to a time when you were very innocent. And I know this is going to shock all of you, but most of my friends that I have known since childhood tell me time and time again, you have not changed since you were 10. That is so sad. I don't even know what to say when they say that. I'm grateful.
Giant child.
And exactly. Very childlike, intense enthusiasm. Yes. So
I could ask my mom an adjective for myself.
You're going to, if you play the adjective game, let me just say that sometimes it clears the table. You know what I mean? And people are like, I didn't know you thought that of me. Well, I did. Now we're all not speaking to one another. So, and as I said, my mother says, yes, this is my intense child all the time. So there you go. Okay, so we're going to task you with the following, because this is going to be a fun exercise, and we want you to get really excited about it, okay? But you got to get to a quiet spot and a place where you can just contemplate this. But basically, we want you to go back and think about the day when you could barely go to sleep at night, and you were so excited to wake up in the morning. And that's why we go back to 8, 9, 10 years old. And you were thinking about what it was that you were going to do the next day. And I don't care if it was picking flowers, or for me, it was like just to go play softball or do something. There was something within you that said, I love doing this more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of a fun exercise. We kind of did this ourselves to think back to when we were 10 years old and what that looked like and who we were. And I actually called my mom.
Did you?
Yeah, and I said, I want you to help me remember. And my mom, of course, has a baby book. And so she pulls out our baby book and says,
Aww.
you did this and you did that. And it really helped me remember, because I was trying to think, okay, 10 years ago, and or when I was 10 years old, how many years ago?
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it was fun. So I don't know, do you want to share kind of a little bit, tell
who we were when
who
we were 10?
When we were 10?
I was a monster. Do you want to go first?
Of course. So when I was 10 years old, I was really into sports, of course. And I played competitive soccer and I played competitive softball. I also tried flag football, and my family always went to the Celtic games.
Oh, yeah.
When we were growing up. And that was the year that I entered into one of the competitions at the Celtic games. And
cool.
I threw the...
Is that pole?
The pole, the caber. I did.
God, that
I
is
know.
so cool.
And I got an award because I think I was the only girl who did it.
That a girl.
It was like the furthest distance for, a girl, whatever. But so I was trying new things. So at 10 years old, I was really into sports. I was in student body council, which is kind of crazy to think about because I was like in 5th grade. And so I think back to that, that was really showing my leadership skills, which has resonated in my adult life. And I was athletic, and leadership comes into play when you're athletic. And I was always, the captain on a team, and just exploring who I was, trying new things, and just, living the life.
That a girl. Love hearing that story. Much nicer story than mine. When I was 10, I was 5'7". I was a monster.
I was 4'11".
I think the doctor thought I was going to be like 6'2". So sports played, and here's the deal. What came into my life and was very instrumental in my life at that time, and currently is and will forever be, was humor. I had to have something that I could laugh about and have fun with, and almost be self-deprecating to a degree. You're not 5'7" and surrounded by people who are either 4'11" or whatever without looking at it and thinking, thank God I had sports. So I played on the boys basketball team. I did, all of the things that were very untraditional, non-conforming. That's me. That's what I remember at the very start of. To Tori's point, I was always the one that got everybody jacked up on the field. Yeah. So it was my job to be the one when we were behind or we were down, that it was like my dad used to always say, I want you to play like you're down by 10 all the time. So it was naturally my inclination to make sure that everybody was up and positive.
Yeah.
So I'm probably at heart an entertainer. I love to have fun. I love to laugh. I love to lead, but I lead from a standpoint that I will never ask you to do anything that I would not do. Yeah. And I had a life-changing experience when I was 10 where I was the absolute worst player on the team. And I distinctly remember it because there were people out at Carmichael Park, most of them drunk, that lined up the fence and were screaming at me as a ball that my dad thought I was going to catch landed 30 feet behind me. Oh. And that's why I never played the outfield after that. Not a good outfielder. Great infielder, not a good outfielder. But the ball lands 30 feet behind me, and my dad is standing up in the stands with his hands on his hips thinking, I'm going to get it. Come up, strike out, go home. My dad looks at me. He goes, go upstairs and take a shower, and then get your ass down here. I got something I got to talk to you about. So I said, okay. Came downstairs and sat down. My brothers are on either side of me. And they're looking at me like, oh, this is going to be good. She's going to get yelled at.
in trouble.
This is awesome. So my dad, in my life-changing moment at 10, says, may I ask you a question? Do you want to be the best, or do you want to go out and play grab ass with your friends? My brothers are both on either side going, grab ass sounds pretty fun. Maybe you might want to go do that. I said, no, I want to be the best. And that said about every night coming home and ground ball, batting. I mean, it was just non-stop. So, plus it also set in motion a relationship and a coach that has made is very instrumental in my life and development. My dad, just so happened that I got that chance to be with him more. So that was my life-changing moment, and candidly, that was my passion and became my passion in applying an application in everything that I do. That was my story.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, it was really fun to get yelled at by drunks. You suck, get off the field. You couldn't even catch a ball, dude, if I threw it at you right now. So what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
so there's that story. Okay, so basically, here is what we task with for you. Because this obviously for us is something that we have, memories of, and yours would be, I'm sure, vastly different. But do this. What and who were you when you were 10 or 9? Or whatever that time was that you felt like you just, mind was clear, not jaded. And I recognize there's going to be folks who have had really horrendous circumstances by which they came. But there had to be a glimmer there where you had that notion of who you were.
Yeah, something that, like you said, couldn't wait to wake up in the morning and do.
Gave you hope, whatever that was.
Excitement.
What or who did you want to be? Or what did you want to do? That's a big one too. We all said at that point in time, whatever it was. And it could have been, I wanted to be a firefighter. I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to be the president of the United States. In fact, my junior high said that I would be the first woman president. So don't hold your breath. Here it comes. That's what I'm doing.
Moving on up.
What came to you naturally? That's what I always love, because people just dismiss things that they're really, really good at.
Yeah.
And like Tori, she is so gifted in so many things. If I tried that stuff, you guys would never see this. I can't even imagine what that would be. So what came to you naturally?
Yeah, what was...
Yeah.
And people lose sight of that over the years, I think, too. So the main purpose of going back to that innocence of age, is to remember that. And wash away all that, nonsense
and craziness. I mean,
noise that you hear.
I've always loved to dance. And that's one of the things that I would choose to pursue now as an adult, because if music starts playing, it's over. I'm out there and I'm dancing. So, things as simple as that. And that's what I'm saying. Was it, you were quilting with your grandmother or something? It's those innocent moments that I was telling Tori, because she's watching her boys do this, and you kind of make note of that, because as they get older and they lose sight, or they have things, life gets in the way, you're able to say, you remember there was a time that you did this and this is what you loved, and they go, oh, I forgot. I forgot. So make sure that you do that. Where did it come from? So was it grandma? Was it time that you spent with grandma? And where did that unbridled enthusiasm and passion go? Because there's typically a moment in time where something happens and you lose sight of it. Maybe somebody said, you're no good at that.
Yeah.
Somebody said, that's foolish. Somebody told you...
You can't make money doing that.
You can't.
Right?
I've heard that a few times. I said, you just wait. You just wait. Well, no one gets paid for that. I'll show you.
I'll figure out the way.
Yes, I will figure it out.
With intense enthusiasm.
I might not know, but it's coming. That's coming.
Working on that.
So, and then how do you rediscover it? Yeah. So, that's why I say you got to get raw, you got to get real, you got to get dirty, you got to get in there. And it's going to be somewhat painful in some instances, because you're going to get mad at yourself. Don't do that. Don't waste that time.
No.
Because it is coming about in a roundabout way, but this is absolutely essential to your just sense of purpose, your sense of peace and calm and belief in yourself, and get somebody who can kind of help you if you're having a hard time navigating that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I told Tori I had a kindergarten art story. Yes. So I had seen this or heard this really great story, and many of you probably have heard this, but I heard it on a radio program and I loved it so much. It said, this is what happens to us as we get older. And this wasn't much of a shift, but in the kindergarten art class, the teacher came in and they had a speaker that came in. And the speaker just was kind of an observer, just kind of checking how things were going in the class, and said, I want to know who's the best artist in the class. Oh, wow. And there were kids just, their hearts were up, they were up on their desks, and everybody's...
Pick me!
Exactly. Everybody's hand went up in the room.
Cute.
Everyone's hand went up in the room, and they were all trying to outdo themselves. By as little as third grade, by as few years as third grade, when that same question was posed to that same class, do you know there were only a handful of kids?
Wow.
somewhere within that time frame of kindergarten. And listen, 10 is just a random number that we chose because it was kind of instrumental in our, well, I'm so old, it's hard to think back to a lot of years. That's a long time ago.
My mom.
But, to think that impact is had between kindergarten, what you would consider to be third grade, that's not that many years. And to think that there were kids there that thought I was the best.
Yeah.
And only a handful.
A few short years later, all that's changed. That really makes me think, because Ryan's going into kindergarten this year, and I really want to make sure that I document the passions that he has, and what he's interested in, and then hold on to that so I can make sure.
Seriously, because who better to tell you who you were, what they observed in you, than the people who love you. And that's why when Tori and I were talking about it, because Ryan I think he's going to be the Project Runway winner in season whatever, but he is amazing and so excited, genuinely excited about it. And I'm so excited to hear these stories. So when Tori and I were talking about it, I said, just write it down. Just write it down. And when Ryan loses his way, it might very well be a sense of calm. Maybe it's not something that he pursues, but when he goes to that place where he just can't make sense of anything in his life, he says, you know what? What's the best thing that I remember? I would sit down and make pillows for my mom.
Yep.
And
so
there we go. Or with my grandma.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he brought it home and he was so proud of it.
He was. He's planning Christmas presents that he's going to make pillows for his...
Ryan, watch this podcast. And just remember, Auntie Kyle said, you're going to be the Project Runway star.
And you get a pillow, and you get a pillow.
I better get a pillow, that's all I got to say. And it better be red, white, and blue.
Ooh.
It would be awesome. Anyway.
We can take orders.
I think we got a moneymaker here.
My little baby entrepreneur.
And that is what is so amazing to me, because he can't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing.
Sweet.
When you are really good at something, and I'm kind of going a little bit out of order, but my brother Lance, hi Lance, who serves as everything to me. My brothers are extraordinary people and human beings and great advice givers, but know me better than anybody. But Lance said, listen, when you do something so effortlessly, don't dismiss it as though everybody can do it. And that's what ends up happening, because it is so simple to us and so easy for us to do. The tendency and inclination is to say, everybody can do that. No, they can't. No, they can't. And you have to stay true to that, because you will only shine. By not doing that and by dismissing it and making it seem like it's almost something that you're ashamed of, you do a disservice to the people who need to hear you and see you and share your gift.
And talent.
And talent. True.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to wrap up for this episode, and we're going to finish with part 2. Part 2!
So, very exciting.
Stay tuned. We're going to have 2 more topics to cover for passion, and we hope that you guys are on board.
And do the exercise. Listen, we're asking you to do a deep dive. This one is going to require a lot of you, but I'm telling you, when all is said and done, you will be so grateful to us. Yeah. And I hope, our hope, is that you contact us and then share that exercise and what that was like for you from the first segment.
Yeah, and I'll go through and do the core values myself that you went through with Maestro, and I'll share that with you guys, and we'll see if it's surprising or not.
And a big shout out to Mike Staver, because Mike, it was life-changing and eye-opening for me, and there's not a thing that I do that does not have passion, my intense enthusiasm attached to it. So thanks so much for that too.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
As we end this episode, we want to take a moment to remind you how you can get in touch with us and get connected.
So you can reach out to me on Facebook, and I am Kyle Thompson. And again, there are many Kyle Thompson men, only one Kyle Thompson woman. So please feel free to reach out to me there. Or on Instagram, I'm 8 Carpe Diem Mama 8.
And I am Tori Barker, or Creative Marketing on Facebook. And on Instagram, I'm ToriBarker.creativemarketing. And for all of your marketing needs, you can visit my website at creativemarketingbytori.com.
And if you have the need and would love to reach out, I'd love to hear from you as it relates to life and personal coaching, consulting, and speaking. And you can reach me or visit my website at gustoandgo.com.